Number 7. Karen Klein and Leandro Aosta. During their teenage years, Argentine step-siblings Leandro Aosta and Karen Klein engaged in a forbidden love affair, their bond deepening over 6 years. However, this relationship was impaired by growing resentment toward Karen's father, Ricardo Klein, and Leandro's mother, Miriam Kowalczuk, both accused of mistreating their younger siblings. In a horrifying turn of events in 2015, Leandro committed a gruesome double homicide. He fatally shot his stepfather in the head at their family home in Pilar, Argentina. When his mother walked in on the scene and discovered the desecration of Ricardo's body, she became the next victim, suffering 3 fatal gunshot wounds. The chilling details reveal that Leandro then engaged in an unthinkable act. He cooked and consumed some of Ricardo's flesh. For the following 11 days, Leandro concealed the remains of the victims within the house. He subjected his parents' lifeless bodies to further brutality, including skull crushing and the insertion of a stake into his mother's body. Afterward, he transported the remains outside and set them ablaze. The gruesome truth came to light when a concerned relative alerted authorities. Police found a nightmarish scene with dismembered human remains in garbage bags, remnants of human flesh seemingly prepared for consumption, along with weapons, including a machete, a shotgun, a 9mm pistol, and 3 recently purchased axes. A substantial sum of $10,000 in cash raised suspicions of theft from the victims. Given Leandro's physical limitations due to an intestinal disorder, investigators questioned the likelihood of him acting alone. Their focus turned to Karen as a possible co-conspirator in the stepbrothers' horrifying crimes. Karen asserted that she was asleep during the murders, claiming that her involvement was limited to assisting Leandro in the cleanup. She would later argue in court that she complied under threat of death. During interrogations, Leandro displayed an alarming absence of remorse for his actions, revealing premeditation behind the murders. He attributed his violent acts to harassment by his deceased stepfather, who had berated him for not contributing to the household financially, despite his physical disabilities. Ricardo's brothers revealed a long-standing animosity between him and Leandro, painting the violent tragedy as an inevitable culmination of their discord. In court, prosecutors accused Leandro of being driven by a potent mixture of hatred for his parents and a desire to inherit their property and wealth. Initially, due to insufficient evidence, Karen's murder charge was dropped and she was released from custody. However, the case was later reinstated and brought to trial. Both Karen and Leandro ultimately received convictions of murder, carrying the potential penalty of life imprisonment. Number 6. Ethan Washburn. In a heart-wrenching incident of suspected abuse, a young malnourished boy was discovered wandering the streets of Griffin, Georgia in May 2023, barefoot and desperately searching for food. A compassionate neighbor intervened and promptly alerted the authorities, leading to the apprehension of 3 individuals connected to this distressing case. Accused of deliberate acts of cruelty, Krista and Tyler Shindley face charges of intentionally withholding sustenance from the victim and confining him to a room. The boy's escape from his confinement preceded his appearance on the streets. Law enforcement reports revealed that the Shindleys subjected the victim to extended periods of isolation, devoid of light, food, clothing, or any form of human interaction. Following the arrest of this couple, Spalding County District Attorney Marie Brode emphasized the critical role played by the observant neighbor who called 911, essentially saving the victim's life. The Shindleys now confront a multitude of charges, encompassing attempted murder, cruelty, battery, and false imprisonment, among others. They remain in custody without the possibility of bond, awaiting the resolution of their legal proceedings. A grim turn in this distressing saga occurred 10 days after the apprehension of Krista and Tyler, when the authorities arrested the victim's stepbrother, 20-year-old Ethan Washburn from Franklin, Tennessee. He faces 2 felony counts of aggravated assault as outlined in his arrest warrant. Allegations include frequent physical assaults on the victim, involving punches to the body, head and face, as well as choking with both hands. Curiously, several weeks prior to his own arrest, Washburn interacted with Fox 5 reporters at the Schindley's residence, denying any involvement in the case and asserting that he was merely house-sitting. What would you do if you found a small child wandering the streets alone? Let us know in the comments and hit subscribe while you're at it. Number 5. Britney Humphrey. In August 2016, the lifeless body of Kimberly Harville, a mother of 3, was discovered with an upper body gunshot wound near a remote road in Gorman, California. Meanwhile, her children had been abducted and were later found unattended at a motel in New Mexico, 10 harrowing days after her tragic death. The investigation swiftly led authorities to 22-year-old Britney Sue Humphrey, initially reported as Kimberly's stepsister, but later revealed to be her half-sister. Humphrey, along with her boyfriend, 28-year-old Joshua Robertson, was apprehended in Colorado a day after the children were located. They faced charges related to the abduction of the kids and the murder of Harville. The murder charge came with an enhancement of lying in wait, which could have subjected them to the death penalty if convicted. According to prosecutors, a chilling sequence of events unfolded. Harville had witnessed Robertson fatally shooting a woman during an altercation at a motel involving disputed property. Fearing that she might report the crime to law enforcement, Robertson panicked. Humphrey later testified that she had accompanied them on a drive, but later returned alone, with Robertson admitting to have taken violent action against Harville for allegedly being a snitch. A third individual, Alex Richard Valdez, faced charges related to Harville's murder for providing the weapon used by Robertson. Valdez confessed that he lent Robertson the gun, knowing it was intended for Harville's murder, driven by Robertson's fear of imprisonment. Valdez testified that Robertson claimed Humphrey was complicit in the plan, although she denied any involvement during the court proceedings. In his legal proceedings, Robertson entered a no-contest plea to charges including first-degree murder, kidnapping, weapon offenses, and arson related to a separate incident. He was also convicted of lying in wait enhancement, resulting in a life sentence. Valdez, too, was found guilty of first-degree murder and received a life imprisonment sentence. As for Humphrey, she pleaded no contest to the kidnapping charge and was sentenced to 13 years in prison. The murder charge against her was dropped, and her specific role, if any, in the tragic event remains uncertain. Number 4. Nathan Matthews. In 2015, the unsettling disappearance of a high schooler, Becky Watts, sent shockwaves through Bristol, England. Under mysterious circumstances, she vanished from her home, a residence she shared with her stepbrother, Nathan Matthews, and his girlfriend, Shauna Hall. Initially, both Nathan and Shauna professed ignorance regarding Becky's whereabouts. Their narrative centered around the belief that Becky had left the house independently, and they surmised that she had not returned for unknown reasons. As days turned into weeks, the inconsistencies in Nathan's and Shauna's accounts began to unravel, mounting a compelling case against them. A pivotal piece of evidence emerged, a bloody fingerprint on Becky's door, which was conclusively linked to Nathan. Surveillance footage from a local store further implicated Nathan, as he was captured purchasing a circular saw shortly after Becky's perplexing disappearance. Around the same time, both Nathan and Shauna were observed buying an assortment of cleaning supplies. Nearly 2 agonizing weeks after Becky's inexplicable vanishing, her dismembered remains were discovered, concealed inside a shed belonging to an acquaintance couple of Nathan and Shauna's, Carl Demetrius and Jaden Parsons. Astonishingly, Carl and Jaden acknowledged accepting money from the pair to store a suitcase containing Becky's body parts, though they maintained their innocence regarding the suitcase's gruesome contents. Under intense police questioning, Nathan eventually confessed to the murder of Becky. He vehemently asserted Shauna's non-involvement in the crime, but both were charged with murder. Prosecutors painted a chilling picture, describing how the couple nonchalantly played Monopoly and ordered takeout soon after the heinous act. For 3 days, they harbored Becky's lifeless body in their home before enlisting the assistance of their friends. In an eerie twist, Nathan and Shauna continued their lives as if nothing had transpired, while Becky's distraught loved ones tirelessly searched for her. Nathan claimed he refrained from informing his family about Becky's death, fearing it would shatter their hope. Ultimately, he was convicted of murder and sentenced to life in prison, with a minimum term of 33 years. Shauna faced a conviction on the lesser charge of manslaughter and received a prison sentence of 17 years. Carl was sentenced to 2 years in prison for aiding an offender, and Jaden received a 16-month prison term on the same charge. Number 3. Casey Carrick. In December 2018, the South Carolina Highway Patrol received an urgent call regarding an incident outside a business in Orangeburg County, where a woman had been struck by a car. Miraculously, the victim survived, but sustained severe injuries. Initially, witnesses believed it was a typical hit-and-run accident. However, further investigation revealed a shocking twist. The driver of the car and the victim were in fact stepsisters. According to the Orangeburg County Sheriff's Office, 35-year-old Casey Carrick was observed engaging in a heated argument with the victim before deliberately striking her with the vehicle. Surveillance footage from the scene appeared to substantiate the grave allegation of premeditated violence. Casey faced serious charges of attempted murder, with the potential for a 30-year prison sentence if found guilty. While the precise outcome of the case remains somewhat uncertain, records indicate that she is currently serving a 7-year prison term. Notably, Casey has faced additional troubles while incarcerated, including multiple instances of losing her canteen privileges due to drug-related infractions. Number 2. Savon Haas. In August 2016, the lifeless body of 18-year-old McKenna Hilton was tragically discovered, strangled to death along a trail in Grand Rapids, Michigan. The harrowing accusation fell upon her half-brother, Savon Haas, who was alleged to have committed this heinous act at their apartment, located less than a mile from the scene. The motive behind his brutal actions remains shrouded in mystery, though a mental health evaluation deemed him competent to stand trial. In 2017, Haas opted to plead guilty to 1 count of first-degree premeditated murder as part of an agreement that would result in a sentence ranging from 40 to 100 years. Nevertheless, owing to specific sentencing laws applicable to his age at the time of the crime, there exists a possibility that he may serve a maximum of 60 years behind bars. McKenna's aunt expressed her profound disappointment in a system that sometimes appears to prioritize the rights of offenders over the pursuit of justice for victims. Yet she also acknowledged that irrespective of the prison term imposed, the family's anguish over McKenna's untimely demise remains. In the aftermath of this distressing case, the spotlight shifted to David Haas, the father shared by both McKenna and Savon. He faced legal troubles of his own when he was charged in connection with highly disturbing illegal content discovered on his phone. This unsettling material came to light after David inadvertently left his phone in someone else's vehicle, leading to its confiscation and subsequent report to the police by his 30-year-old daughter. As a result, he received a sentence of 1.5 to 6 years in prison, marking another tragic chapter in this family's story. Number 1. Broderick L. Carter. In November 2022, the El Dorado, Arkansas police responded to a distressing report of multiple gunshots fired at a residential address. Upon their arrival, they made a grim discovery: the lifeless body of 30-year-old Jontavian Hill, a victim of multiple gunshot wounds. Tragically, he sustained 9 gunshot wounds to his back and 1 to the back of his head, with the horrific scene unfolding in the living room of the residence. As diligent investigators probed the grim circumstances surrounding Hill's murder, their efforts led them to a startling revelation. The prime suspect in this heart-wrenching crime was none other than Hill's stepbrother, 36-year-old Broderick L. Carter. After an intense 8-hour standoff with law enforcement, Carter was apprehended in Oklahoma City. His charges spanned a range of serious offenses, including capital murder, aggravated residential burglary, and possession of a firearm. Additionally, he faced enhancements linked to his involvement in violent crime group activities and the commission of a felony with a firearm. Initially, a second individual, 30-year-old Charles Trey Mitchell, faced charges in connection with the case. However, further investigation revealed his alibi, establishing that he was in Oklahoma at the time of Hill's tragic murder. Consequently, Mitchell was released without charges. In an unfortunate twist of fate, shortly after Mitchell's exoneration, police arrested 27-year-old Tyree T. Threats as a suspected accomplice to Carter. This puzzling turn of events arose from an unusual case of mistaken identity, as Tyree's name is phonetically pronounced as Trey, the same nickname that Mitchell goes by. Complicating matters further, both men bear this mark tattooed on their chests, contributing to the initial confusion. The latest updates on the case reveal that both Carter and Threats are currently incarcerated without the possibility of posting bail, awaiting their impending trial, which promises to unravel further details surrounding this tragic incident. Thanks for watching. Would you rather find out that your sibling is studying to become a serial killer or spend 5 years in prison? Let us know in the comments and remember to subscribe. See you next time on Bad Badger.